Welcome. I'm Mark Reed of the Aptos History Group, a board member of the Aptos History Group, and I'm sitting here with my brother, Emmett Van Eck Reed, and we're both sitting on Mangels Ranch, Aptos. This is where we grew up, and my brother is visiting. He lives in Tucson. So Van, what are your earliest memories of Mangels Ranch?
Actually, my earliest memories of Mangels Ranch is it would be the Mangels House. So basically back, probably starting in 49, maybe 50.
And to level set here, uh, you are the great-great-grandson of Claus Mangels, the founder of the ranch. And our mother grew up here, and her mother grew up here. And you were born in 1941, and I'm the baby of the bunch, born in 1955. So my memories are much later. Van?
Well, the my first memories of being at Mangels Ranch is the Mangels House, and basically at the time our grandmother would rent the house out from family who owned it at the time, and basically we would live there, or we would visit there for several days, a long weekend, and basically it was a large house with many rooms, and as a young boy, it was an adventure exploring them all.
And it was a huge place. It was equivalent to the Bayview Hotel, I think, in Aptos, for people who are familiar with the Bayview Hotel. Mangel's house was 2 stories and an attic and a basement, I think.
Yes. But my fond memories are two. One is I love to slide down the banister from the first floor down into the living room.
Well, so did our great Aunt Alice, the mother of Carl Mertz. I remember her when I was a kid, and she was as old as the hills, and she hopped on that banister and sailed down to the very end. And you did that too.
Oh, many times. And we on occasion, cousins, Tane Tompkins, we were both about the same age. We would actually have adventures in the house. We would go hiking, looking for snipe in the forest at night when it was foggy and dripping wet and a bit spooky. Uh, the fireplace was always a place to congregate, and we had uh, a large table that was in front of the fireplace in the living room, and that was a place where we would play games. Monopoly was one. We would play cards, but it would just not be myself with my brothers. I was the oldest, so my brothers wouldn't have been playing cards at the time. But we had also other relatives. I had cousins that would actually maybe at times be living in the same house, visiting the same house at the same time.
And for folks watching this video, Claus Mangels had basically 2 branches. There are 2 branches of the family of Claus Mangels. One is our branch, and I'll call it the Tillman branch. The other branch is the Huter branch, and that branch includes folks like Carl Mertz, who was active in Aptos history, and it includes the cousins that my brother mentions right now, meeting together at the big house.
Yeah, these were the, 1950, 1951. I was maybe 8. It's hard to count backwards. Um, and with Bob Huter and Tane Tompkins, basically we would hike up to the third hill, and that was always an adventure, watching out for the poison oak. Basically, we would go down to the beach and walk along the beach, and boy, I can remember days when we would start body surfing in the morning, and we would get out at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, absolutely blue
Well,
and sunburned.
when has that changed in the decades that people have lived in Aptos?
Well, I think we set a precedent.
But let me ask you, when you were a kid down at the beach, and this must have been the early 1950s, were there other houses there? Were there lots of people there?
Well, the original, I'm not sure what the road is, but basically along the road that would be to the left of the beach. What is that, Rio Del Mar? Or
The one that fronts the beach
front? Yes.
itself. I'm sorry. Before doing the interview, we did not come prepared with names of roads, but I will flash them on the screen. So, assuming I can do that, continue.
Most of those houses are still there.
All right.
Some of them have been rebuilt. Some of them have certainly been replaced, but there are very many that I see pictures from the 50s and the 60s, and I see the same houses.
And I, of course, am the kid of the bunch, but by the time I was going to the beach in the 1960s, the family friends were the George Andrews family, who lived at the far end of the beach esplanade. And I'm sorry, we forget the name right now. It was a private security fenced development. You remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. And in later years, we would hike, walk down the beach, and we would we would see the Andrews. The Andrews had children about our age, and we would anyway. It was nice visiting them and spending time on the beach.
Well, speaking of the beach, do you have memories of the SS Palo Alto, the concrete ship that is beached at Aptos?
Well, basically in the early 50s, I used to go out with Dad to the very end and take my hand line and try to catch something. I never was very successful, but I think Dad was. Basically, I think that the ship at the time was actually relatively intact compared to today, and you could walk to the end. And
Was it floating?
well, no, it was grounded in the sand,
All right.
and probably for many years prior to our excursions. But there were actually wood I will say walkways across areas where the structure, the boat structure itself had shifted, and there were large cracks separating the front and the center section and the rear sections, but they still were walkable. You could still go out to the end, and there was no warning signs other than just keep safe, but no forbidden areas that we were not allowed to go into.
And what did you catch?
Not a whole lot. I'm sure it probably caught something, but it wasn't significant enough to really for me to remember.
Well, did you see any sharks?
Well, no, to be honest, not much. People out on the end fishing with more technical gear were certainly, I'm not sure exactly what sort of fish they would be catching, but they were certainly catching fish. So, you know, it's a place where people went to catch fish,
All right.
for
all
sure.
right. And returning to Mangels Ranch, when you were here as a child, there were cattle around and horses, and And there had been a dairy in the 1930s. Was that still operating in your memory?
No, the dairy wasn't operating, but I think that there were individuals that were leasing ground, and there certainly were cattle on it, both in the far pasture as well as in the area lower where the dairy used to be. And I say used to be because it's not there today, but when I was there was a dairy barn. It looked like one dairy barn was set up for milking. There was a silo. I'm not sure exactly what the silo was used for. That was taken down in later years. Actually, the whole facility was taken down. But in the up to the 60s, when I remember all of that. I think after the 60s, 64, 65, I spent less time at the ranch because basically I was living pretty much away, going to school, and then living in Arizona. But
Now, I was born in 1955, and our parents built their own house here at the ranch about 1959, 1960, and they called the estate Hilltop, and we are at the top of the hill on a rock. And my earliest memories are as a child watching my father and very small crew, and including my muscular brother here, dig away at the foundation and start building the house. But you remember the house under construction, yes?
oh, I remember the house under construction, and basically, with the help of my cousin Tane Tompkins, we put up a number of fences around the house. Why? Just because there were still cattle out, and we had to at least, anyway, that was a problem.
The cattle were around, and 20 feet in front of the house here is a dirt road that circles the property, and the cattle would come up to the dirt road, and I, as a child, would run down there and rub the noses of the cattle. And my mother, as a very worried mother, ran out of the house and said, "Mark, be careful." But to me, they were just large big dogs. That's what they were. Wonderful animals. But I remember the cattle coming up and Mom worried about her garden.
Well, after probably looking at the 60, 61, basically we had a barn raising. We actually constructed what Dad called a barn, which was actually a hay loft that we could put hay on, a corral area, and basically at that time, Dad had two horses, 1 to 2 horses
And a
at
burro,
times.
a burro.
A burro, yes. And Eeyore was the burro, and basically Eeyore would go, Eeyore!
From Frontier Village in San Jose. I think we had 3 burros at one time.
Yeah, anyhow. But at that particular time, it was, we used to ride all over the ranch. We would actually go up to the steel bridge, not necessarily just on the main road, but we'd actually go to the steel ridge, riding up to the 3rd hill, actually crossing over to a 4th hill, and then coming a back way that comes into the steel bridge.
And for the folks watching this video, the ranch at the time, and this would be the late 1950s, the early 1960s, the ranch was largely intact. Originally, it was 550 acres. Some parts of that had been sold off by the 50s, but it was largely intact. So when we talk about riding horses to the steel bridge was part of Mangels Ranch, all private property. And we could ride horses there. The steel bridge was one area. Vienna Woods, closer to Cabrillo College. Montoyan was at the edge of Mangels Ranch. We could ride horses over there. So it was wonderful territory. And we had a stable of horses. Our cousins did too. So we really enjoyed that.
Well, what can I say? I mean, it was magic growing up. Being able to come here during the summers, when I was here, this was actually just a summer home, and basically we visited it. I remember after graduating from college, I spent a summer here working and commuting on Highway 17 to Sunnyvale, San Jose actually, San Jose to work at FMC Corporation as in the mail department. Uh,
And you were in the space program. We're changing subjects here, but for a while you worked for the space program near Oxnard.
well, you can call me a rocket scientist. Basically, I worked on rocket engines with the United Technology Center in Sunnyvale.
Well, note that, Aptos history, a rocket science in the town of
And
Aptos.
you know, I had a beautiful apartment on, I don't know if it was Bascom. I think I paid $120 a month for it, and I thought it was outrageous.
All right, all right. Let's return to Aptos now, and we'll start concluding the interview here. One of my favorite memories is of the Cuban Missile Crisis, which I believe was 1962 or thereabouts. And the reason I remember that is our grandparents, Baron and Baroness Van Eck, who lived on a large estate in Santa Barbara, felt the need to build a bomb shelter here on the ranch. And they proceeded to construct it during that period, 61, 62. And that bomb shelter serves as the basement for the house on the parcel directly above this particular parcel. I thought that's a wonderful story. So, Van, what do you remember of the bomb shelter?
Well, you know, it was never fully completed, but probably in the 70s, early 70s, I remember coming here with my family, and that's where we would basically stay while visiting here with mom and dad, and it was a bombshell. It had thick concrete walls. It had a thick concrete ceiling. It had a nice wooden deck, and it had beautiful windows and a beautiful view that would be hard to find elsewhere.
And I remember in the closet was a Geiger counter, and I don't know what happened to that. It just disappeared.
And those were the days.
But you stayed there. I stayed there for at least a couple of summers, and the front part of the house was fine. You had a beautiful view of Monterey Bay. But the back part of the house was a cement block, as you could take that out to the bay and float it. It's like a concrete ship, that bomb shelter over there. But enough about that. Brother Van, thank you very much. And let me say, let me point out the name again, Emmett Van Eck Reed. Emmett is after our father, Emmett Lee Reed. My brother's middle name, Van Eck, is after our grandparents, our Van Eck grandparents. Reed, of course, our father. And so thanks to all of you for dialing in and watching, and this is courtesy of the Aptos History Group, and we all look forward to talking with you again. Thank you.